What is up, guys, and welcome to the Meeple Minded podcast, the podcast where we talk all things tabletop gaming. My name is Jason.
And I'm James.
And I'm Ant.
How are you doing, Ant? You're back again.
I'm back again. Thank you guys for having me back.
I don't think James has quite figured out that I'm slowly replacing him with you.
Oh, no comment.
That's how it is, eh?
Oh, yeah. Don't you remember, James? It's just, that's how I do things here. I get bored eventually, and then someone new comes onto the scene, and
Just remember, he has got rid of one co-host before, so...
No, I'm not replacing you, James. Don't worry.
The contract hasn't come through the mail yet, anyway, so...
I was going to say, does it mean I
Contract?
You got a contract?
Well,
I just got chained to the chair.
you will do this.
Honestly, you make me out to be some kind of dictator or slave driver, or I'm just going to stop now. But
Who, you?
me? Never. But yes, how are we both doing? James, we'll start with you, seeing as though you're currently the current co-host.
Wow. I was fine.
Good. Are you enjoying your week off, James? Because you're coming to the end of your week off, or you went back to work or something today? Or
I went back to work today.
Ah, okay. How was your first day back?
Yeah, it was work. They closed a major road. It was hell.
Welcome to my world, mate. Try
Yep.
driving in London.
Yep.
Big thumbs up. Anthony, what about you?
I'm good.
You've had a day off today.
I had a day off today, yes.
How dare you have a day off
How
today?
dare me?
It's
Of
not
all
fair.
people,
It's not on, mate. It's not on.
it's not on at all, is it?
No.
How
What
dare
did you do with your day off?
Well, I got to finish painting my conservatory and then painted some minis.
I hope you didn't use like acrylic mini paint in the conservatory. That sounds prohibitively
I did use the fine model brush for the corners and the tops part, just to get it right. But
Got to get the detail in there. Bit of fine edge
just to get a little
highlighting.
bit of detail in there. That's it. Yeah,
Now,
nothing compared to doing eyeballs on a mini though.
Did you put some like I don't know light shading in
There's
it
some
and
shading,
stuff
some
like that?
tone on it or something, just to give it the effect.
See, most people moan when they knock over like a tub of shade or Nuln oil or something like that, but actually, just think it's bringing out the detail of your table. It's lovely.
True.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't realise I had all these scratch marks on here before.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, I obviously have quite a bright white table, so I think Nuln oil falling
I don't
on
know,
this
shade
might
would go
be
well
a bit.
with this bit, I reckon.
Yeah.
Nice bit of shade.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough.
Mind you, it's weird seeing it white because most of the time I come here, it's covered in black, padding around it for the game nights.
It is, yeah. When you're here, it's usually a gaming
yeah.
setup, isn't it? But no, I'm the only one that's got a couple of those mats at the moment. That's just to keep the recording equipment off the table so it doesn't vibrate and
Yeah, only the host
pick up in the
James
mic.
gets that. We're not worthy, are we?
No, we're not.
No. Well, James will fiddle with it too much and make noise.
Will he get his own one someday?
Oh, I don't know. See, it does everything in one unit, you see. And I'm not sure I could trust James to play around.
Just
with it.
reach over and press record.
I mean, that's wise. Is there's a lot of buttons on that, and I would just be tempted to go.
Ooh. What is this? And you become up.
So as a DJ, this is another reason why I'm keeping it quite far away from you.
That's fair, yeah.
You're a bit used to sliding sliders.
Yeah, it's weird when there's no disc vinyl slides onto it. We're going.
But yes, before we jump into what we usually do, and I'm going to give you the chance to tell people who haven't heard before who the hell you are.
Well, I'm Ant. I come in here regularly and I host a podcast called the MTVB Podcast, the podcast that talks about my four favorite subjects, that is movies, TV shows, video games, and of course, board games. We've just finished, currently, at the time of recording this, we finished season 6. There will be season 7 coming in, I believe, July or August. Every episode is different where we talk about one of those 4 subjects, usually ends with the top 5. And yeah, it's purely just a bit of fun. Bunch of mates talking about what they love and doing their top 5s.
Nice. So obviously we've said people who don't know who you are, those people should be shamed because you were on last week's episode as well, where we were talking about UK Games
Exactly.
Expo and
good to be
the fact that we're going to be going there. And of course, we're recording this immediately after recording that episode. So
Yes.
there's not really been much of a change since then,
Since then, yeah.
obviously. But what can you do? We have to prepare for the fact that we're not going to be here for a week. So 2 episodes in one evening. James, do you think we can do it? We're used to only doing about an hour and 15 minutes of recording.
Well, yeah, I think we're up for it. You know, by the time you cut out the waffle, we probably do about normal two episodes worth anyway.
This is very, very true. And to be fair, we've both guested on Anthony's podcast too.
Absolutely.
You have a bit more of a long running.
Yeah,
time
ours is a
than we
bit
do.
long running, yeah. That's probably why James has never come back. But you are welcome to come back. So regardless of what that episode said, your top 5 was spot on and you're always welcome back on MTVB.
You know the truth, James. You know the truth. And the truth comes from me. I am the truth.
And nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Exactly. Exactly. James is just going to die in the corner now in laughter. But yeah, we're going to be talking about a game that actually you own, and in a little bit, which is Steam Up.
Hopefully you might own after Expo.
We will see. We'll see how my comments go a little bit later. But yeah, we'll be talking about Steam Up, a Feast of Dim Sum, which we've really got to try and remember because I keep calling it Dim Sum Up.
We call it
which
Dim
is
Sum
what
Up,
you
yeah.
started calling it,
Yeah.
so I have to try and remember that. Especially if I end up buying it. It's like, you want to play Dim Sum Up? Well, yeah, but you don't own that.
I ain't got any copies of Dim Sum Up, mate.
Yeah,
Oh, you mean Steam Up?
Yeah, that one. But yeah, well, that's in a few minutes.
Yeah.
We can talk about some games that we played this week because last night was our game night.
It was, yeah.
And we played a few games. James, what did we play last night? What was the first one we played?
We played Flashpoint.
We did. Now, this is the first time we have played this game in a very long time.
It is, because somebody managed to get their hands on a certain expansion.
I did. I finally managed to get the Tragic Events expansion. And I was very happy. And as such, 3 days later, we were saying, yeah, we need to play this. We need to play it. And you've been badgering me for God
I've been
knows
asking
how
him
long.
for ages, mate. And I know you weren't comfortable until you had that certain expansion. So
Yep.
I waited, and I can honestly say it was worth the wait.
Yeah? Did you enjoy it?
I really did enjoy it. Yeah, I really want to go back and play again. To be honest, I want to win this time.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we didn't do particularly good. I mean, we started well.
Started all right. Yeah.
And thus is the Tragic Events expansion making it more realistic with the way the fire expands.
Or the fire rages.
The fire rages. Yes. There was a lot of Bane quotes last night. A lot of Bane quotes. But yeah, highlights for the game and your first impressions of playing Flashpoint.
Ooh, highlights. I love the difficulty level to it. Let's put it that way, because it does make you think. Considering it's a co-op game as well, even though we were planning ahead to go, right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, or James is going to use the fire truck, I'm going to swap my fireman over, whatnot. We still collapsed at the end, really, didn't we? It was still the roll of that dice when you extend the fire or whatnot, advance the fire, beg your pardon.
Yeah.
It's just, it's brutal, but brilliant at the same time.
Because obviously obviously you haven't played the base game as
No.
Like the advanced fire thing is basically exactly the same. Which is when you draw that card and it just says advance the fire, you're following the original thing.
Okay.
The new side of it was obviously the accelerate cards.
Oh, and the flare up
and also
whatnot.
the flare-up cards.
Okay.
You never got any of that on the old ones. You had like the old hotspot mechanics, which just, when a room got
So
exceptionally
is it just
hot.
as difficult without that then, or?
I would say it's actually a little bit harder with the Tragic Events expansion.
Okay.
I just found it felt more realistic and it did present more of a challenge. And that random draw factor, because obviously when you do draw the accelerate card, well, then you're reshuffling everything.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to know what you're going to draw. Whereas at the start of the game, there's only one accelerate card in there, and then the rest of them are either advance the fire or one nothing happens card.
Which should have been in our deck, but which wasn't.
Well, I did. I set it up randomly. I did it well.
But he did set it up before we got here, James. So.
I did. It's good to come over in the game, be ready and set up, though, isn't it? Doomed you to fail. That's what I did.
That's why it does it.
No. James, your first experience of playing that game with the Tragic Events expansion.
Yep. It's been a while since we played the first time round.
I mean, we're talking years.
Yeah, I have a memory of it being distinctly easier with the original mechanics.
Yes.
It's been like I said, apologies if I get this wrong, because it has been years since we did. But it was with the hotspot mechanics, it sort of goes through the stages, doesn't it? It's sort of, I don't think there are certain criteria, but it's sort of like, if the room gets too hot, first you get smoke, then you get fire. and it was quite easy to kind of just, as it's kind of forming, just to jump on it and put it out.
Yeah. I'll be honest, it's been that long, I can't even remember how the hotspot thing worked.
I think
Mainly because I was like, I don't ever want to play it like that again.
Yeah,
so.
I could be way off, but I think it was just sort of like, if you roll the dice and there's nothing there, you put a smoke token down. And if you rolls that space again, the smoke turns into a fire, sort of thing like that. And yeah, it's not really how a fire spread. Whereas, because when we played it with that tragic events deck, the fire was basically contained to the kitchen.
Yeah, yeah, because we just didn't go in there. We left it locked. Basically, until the walls collapsed and then explosions.
Yeah. But it was that we were sort of maintaining it, and then in my head, the gas line exploded. Then we actually drew the card that said the gas line exploded.
Yeah.
Which didn't help. But yeah, it's just was that central burning fire, which we just couldn't get near.
Yeah. See, that was the other thing that was new, was obviously the events deck.
Yeah.
Which you also are forced to draw with some of the accelerate cards and the flare out cards. How did you find the events were? Because they weren't all bad.
They're well balanced, because it was like, you have 2 fewer turns this turn, but then you get 3 extra ones on your next turn. Sort of thing. So they weren't too bad, in honesty.
Yeah, and the action point side of things, how did you think that played? Because obviously this is your first experience.
I'm quite surprised how you have to remember the amount of actions you have. Usually games give you a cube or so to say, right, that's your 4 actions, and that's 1 action to do this, 1 action to do. So it's kind of a memory thing to remember that, because I believe the guy I swapped it for went down to 3 action points, but he had three actions to do certain actions.
Putting out fires.
So yeah, as long as you can keep up with that, then it's not an issue. Really,
I think there's enough information, I guess, on the character card itself which will tell you that.
Yeah,
but yeah, the whole having different types of free actions could be a bit confusing, I guess. When you actually play the game for the first time, you're supposed to play the air quotes family version to learn the game, which takes out a lot of the stuff. You play with a basic load of firemen, they just do their 4 actions, and that's it. But
no, we went hardcore, baby.
Oh yeah, we went hardcore. We definitely went hardcore. And it was good fun. I really enjoyed playing it again. I can't wait to get it back to the table.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be another one we'll play very soon, hopefully. But yes. Anthony, we played another game after that last night.
Yes, I finally got to play Root again.
Hey!
After like a 3-year gap since I played it last time.
Wow, has it really been that long?
Yeah, I believe it was during COVID or just coming out of COVID. So yeah, 2020, end of 2020, 2021, beginning 2021.
That really was a long time ago. Oh, good. How did you find it? Did it all come flooding back to you?
Towards the end, it did. I mean, I asked so many freaking questions to you guys, but again, it's just to make sure I'm playing it properly at the end of the day, because this is a well-loved game, and there's a lot of board gamers we know that absolutely love this, and I appreciate you guys giving me the easy characters again, but I would like to try it with the harder ones next time if we ever go back to it.
Oh yeah.
I know James was having a rough time with his characters. So
you're playing the Eerie again.
Yeah, I was intrigued to do it because I was like learning my guys, but I was trying to figure out why his character was doing this and why it had to do that as well at the same time. So it was quite interesting from that aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, being someone who very rarely plays the Eerie, I can sit here with a smile on my face and go, it was all going wrong because James was playing it. Knowing full well that if I ever play it, it's going to go just as wrong. But James, you played the Eerie again. It didn't go smoothly, did it?
It didn't go smoothly. It's on an upward trend. It didn't go as bad as the last couple of times I played the Eerie.
True. It went pretty bad, though, because we both lost to Ant.
We did.
Because he snuck in right as he went over that threshold, played the dominance card after you had obliterated my woodland terrorists to the point that I couldn't do anything about it, and neither could you.
No.
I honestly didn't think I was going to get that. I thought if I played that, you both were going to come at me on that last turn.
We were going to, and we tried.
Yeah.
But because James had taken out my supporters, there was nothing I could do. I could have gone in and I could have played a supporter in there, but I can't explode it until my next turn.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, I could have geared up to end it the following turn, but obviously the way the rules explain is it gets back to you,
then
you win. Yeah. So I had nowhere stopping it. With James, I think you forcefully had to put yourself in turmoil to try.
I would if Ant hadn't won the game at that moment, the next round, I would most definitely have gone into turmoil the way I had to put the cards down to actually get into that area and fight him.
To even just try and fight.
Yeah, it's like, if I win, it's kind of, Ant's going to win, or I'm going to wipe him out. And by wiping him out, it's going to cause me to go into turmoil because I'll have no one to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, that was a really fun game again. I love Root. I haven't played it enough. I still need to play more of the faction stuff. The expansion stuff. I still haven't played enough of them. I've played them a couple of times, but not enough to really master what I'm doing. But yeah, it was fun. It was enjoyable. I think we need to get that to the table again soon as well.
Won by pure chance. Thank you for letting me play again.
We won't tell him we let him win, Jay.
No, it's totally intentional.
Yeah, they'll cut the mic and be like, yeah, we let him win.
We definitely didn't.
He'll want to play it again now.
And then
suckered him back.
And then we shall destroy him.
Did you notice he didn't put it on BGG saying that he lost as well?
I did.
Yeah?
I did.
You did?
I did.
Oh, okay,
Thank you very much. I will admit, I didn't log any of the plays from last night until I was dry. I was parked up in the side of the van today. And I remembered that I hadn't logged my play, so I logged them today. And I did credit you with the win. So,
the only ever win.
But yes, that's the games that we've played this week, or the other half of the games that we played this week, because obviously the other lot we talked about on the previous episode. But what's the game we played last year? What do you think it was, James?
Because I was paying attention when you told us earlier, it was Ark Nova.
Just bear with me while I press the pause button. You paid attention to something. Wow. It was indeed Ark Nova. Well done, James. You did indeed pay attention. Have a biscuit.
I'm sorry, did you say something?
But yes, Ark Nova. Now, Ant, I know you weren't with us when we talked about the game on the episode, but I know you've played the game.
I did. I played it not long after you guys played it because you introduced it to me, and I've only played it the once since.
Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, obviously you don't own it, which is why you wouldn't have played it, but what were your impressions of the game when you did play it?
Oh, I definitely enjoyed it. I remember I was getting confused over the whole scoring system of the game.
Oh, everyone does.
But again, with your guys' help as always, I still enjoyed it. I don't know why I haven't played it since. We've never really brought it to the table.
I think
really.
It probably still boils down to when
we've got so much stuff to get through at the end of the day, isn't
exactly,
it? So,
yeah. You've got a big games collection with a backlog. I've got the big collection as well. So we're trying our hardest with our weekly meetups to sort of try and get through those shelves of shame.
Is some of it as well.
It's a long old slog.
I was going to say, it's a long old slog. It's a long old setup. It's one of those you kind of have to plan it in advance. You have to know a couple of weeks in advance, right, we're going to play Ark Nova.
Yeah, exactly. I have recently, as I think I said it on a couple of podcasts ago, but I've recently been playing it on Board Game Arena because they've now added it onto there a few weeks ago. And that's really, really cool because obviously the setup's all done for you because obviously it's digital. And a lot of the, mechanics are all automated and stuff like that. So you've got a lot less to do, which means that game can be played in about an hour on there. And it's really, really good. I definitely recommend it because, again, Board Game Arena is free. You don't actually have to pay for it. So, well worth a play. James, do you...
Oh, I think...
Is it still a thumbs up for you?
It's still a thumbs up for me, but more importantly, Jason, have you just created a new topical for us to discuss?
What's that?
The encroachment of digital gaming into the board gaming sphere.
Possibly.
What?
Possibly. I mean, they've been encroaching for ages with those stupid app-driven games that I know I personally can't stand, and he doesn't mind it.
I only played one, and we've done an episode on that, so...
Yeah, I'm not a fan of apps and screens in general in games. It annoys me when
I think I've only ever played one thing on Tabletop Simulator, so I need to get into it a bit more.
Oh, don't get me wrong, Tabletop Simulator is garbage. Like, can't stand it. Cannot stand Tabletop Simulator. Ever since I started playing on Board Game Arena, I don't need Tabletop Simulator anymore. It's too clunky.
Is it?
Whereas, Board Game Arena is actually the publishers uploading their games. And you can support it if you want. You can pay for it, but it's free. You don't have to. So there you go. Board Game Arena, really, really good. Ark Nova, James, thumbs up, thumbs down?
Definitely thumbs up.
Yeah, good man. Anthony, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Can I go middle? No, AJ, thumbs up.
You can go middle if you want.
I really enjoyed it, but again, I need to play it again, so I know you guys highly rated it. It was one of your favourites of last year, but I really need to bring the table. Maybe bring it back to the table next week, a week after.
Possibly, yeah.
Just a nice little refresher, maybe.
I mean, I'm just saying it now. I'm not taking it to Expo.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
It's too long. I did that last year. Not wise. Yeah, it's a thumbs up for me. It was our most played game last year. It was probably our most highly rated game last year. I think it was in all of our top threes when we were doing them at the end of the year. So it was going to be a big plus from us.
Nice.
Shall we jump into the main event of this episode?
Let's do this.
Let's do it. Let's grab some dim sum and up and dive in. And yes, I remembered to set the soundboard correctly. So that was the correct noise. Thank God for that. So, okay, guys. So, Steam Up, A Feast of Dim Sum is a set collection game published by Hot Banana Games in 2023. The game is designed to be played by 2 to 5 players with an average age of about 14 plus, with an estimated playtime of 45 minutes. And at the time of the recording, this game doesn't seem to be on sale anywhere. So you can't currently buy it. However, I remember hearing about a retail version, so I'm sure it will not stay that way for long. At the beginning of the game, steamers filled with different types of dim sum are stacked and placed onto a turntable. Each player takes turns performing 2 different actions, including gaining and spending food tokens, drawing and playing fortune cards, exchanging fortune cards for more food tokens, or even using your own player abilities. The game ends when a specific number of steamers is purchased or the fate deck is empty. Final scoring is then calculated and the player with the most points wins. That is the objective of the game, James. But what comes in the box when you buy, or I guess if you already own, the deluxe version of Steam Up?
What could you get in the box when it eventually comes to retail, James?
Indeed,
yes.
yes.
I think that's the phrase you were looking for.
That is the phrase I was looking for. But James, you said it. What is it?
Right. In the box, Jason, you get a turntable, a scoreboard, 12 animal boards, 12 animal scoring markers, 75 dim sum, 50 food tokens, 2 feast zone indicators for different player counts, 26 fate cards, 50 fortune cards, a dim sum bag, a lucky dice, 18 steamers, a first player marker, 10 feast zone markers, 5 reference cards, and a steamer counter.
Very, very nice. Now that's a decent amount of components in it.
That's a pretty stacked box.
Yeah. Well, as we said at the start, this game is not owned by me. So at this point, I feel we should talk to the man himself, that is the Ant-Man, because we need to talk about the rulebook. Now, you've had to read this rulebook, you've had to read and learn the game in order to teach others. How did you find the rulebook? Is it well laid out? Was it easy to read? Any glaring faults that we should let people know about?
Yeah, there was. It's pretty easy with the stand-up setup rules. The only part that we sort of failed on our first turn, because my first play was also your first play when we did this, was the counter for the steams itself. So we always thought it was like a round tracker, whereas that's what the book sort of indicates. It's like a round tracker, not a steam tracker. And that's where the confusion came in, because the way it's mapped out on the book for that specific page, which is, I can't understand why that specific page, is a bit, they could have just redone that and like put it closer and more clearer to say that that's actually steam tracker, not a round tracker.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure we'll go into it later how the game ends.
Yes,
and one of those trackers is a end of game tracker. So
yeah, I mean that was a bit confusing, I guess, on our very first play. But I guess once we figured it out, though, it was like, oh, actually, that makes logical sense.
Yeah, of course,
really, doesn't it? And if we'd used our brains, we probably would have figured it out. But brains is not our strongest suit, so
definitely not mine.
True words were never spoken, Jason.
Well, there's a reason, that I do this and not like I'm not a mathematician or anything like that. Well, what can we say, James?
Chaotician.
Definitely, James. You have the rule book there. What's your initial thoughts and feelings on it? If you were to pick that up to to learn the game or set it up or whatever it be?
Yeah, I mean, I like the layout. As we usually sort of say, the pictures are all nice and clear. I quite like the fact that they've gone for a sort of a white background and you've got different coloured sections.
Oh yeah,
which are they immediately draw your eye.
Yeah,
because
coloured text boxes, aren't they? Really?
Because they're on a white background, so it's sort of and it even says important.
Ah, well, there you go. Yeah, it's nice of them to highlight something that's important so that you know what to ignore.
Yes.
But illustrations all good, it's nice pictures and
yeah,
and all that,
I quite like that there is a breakdown of the 12 animal boards on the back 2 pages as well, so to detail their
I guess it's like
abilities.
A frequently asked questions area, isn't it? Really?
It's more of like a glossary for if you don't want to flick through the 12 because they're like placemat size boards, when you're trying to pick your character, it's like there's the rule book, back 2 pages, tells you what all the characters are and what they do.
Yeah. That's pretty good then. So we're giving the rule book the thumbs up then?
Yeah. Seems
pretty good. Was there anything other than what Ant's already talked about that was glaringly obvious that was not good?
Not particular. For me, again, it's that tracker, but we'll get to that when we get into the gameplay side of things.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, cool. So setting up the game is the next section. And how do you find it as a setup? Because I've not personally actually had to set this game up on my own. But when you actually got to set the game itself up, is it a difficult one? Is it easily explained?
No, I mean
Or is it fiddly?
So basically, regardless, in the box is 18 steamers, but per players you have to have so many of those steamers.
Yep.
Regardless of that, you still need to set up the entire 18 steamers, and because when you set up, you have to pick 3 randomly per pile on the board. So that's a bit of a nuisance. So you can't just have, let's say, 12 for 3 players or whatever.
Yeah.
The fact that you have to still put all 18 out and then pack them all away after you've picked your randoms is a bit of a nuisance for setup. But apart from that, everything else is pretty standard. Like James said, a player board, couple of cards, food tokens, ready to go.
Yeah.
So the steamers are just probably the main nuisance of the setup, but it's not much of a nuisance if you're okay with just grabbing a bag, putting some stuff in, putting them away afterwards.
Yeah, okay. So an average setup time, 5 to 10 minutes?
If that, yeah.
That's not too bad then. I mean, let's be honest, we've played games that take considerably longer to set them up. We talked about one earlier, Ark Nova. There you go. Takes a lot longer. But so setup.
I mean, it says everything really, doesn't it? When it's like, it's in his top 3, yet you mention the setup and he goes,
Yeah. Well, it's like Marvel Legendary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I love that game. It's one of my favourite games of all time. Do I play it that often? No. Why? The setup. That is enough. Nothing else to be said. But that's the setup for Steam Up. Let's talk about the components very quickly. Anthony, your game, any standout components for you that you really like?
I think we can all speak for it when we say that the deluxe edition food pieces are the standout of this box.
The rubbery dim sum.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, there are a couple of faults with that, which I'm sure we'll go into later.
Yep.
But as the pieces themselves, I'd say either that as well as the steamers, because obviously the steamers come with the retail version. They're still the exact same.
Yep.
So both of those would be, I think that's actually kind of the reason why I backed this on Kickstarter.
Do you know what? I think a lot of people like that. And I'll come in and say, I backed and then didn't back this game on Kickstarter. And I was sold. Like, the components looked really good. I really loved the way that you had the steamers and that they were on the turntable, or the Lazy Susan, as a lot of people will know it. But I just liked that whole thing. I was like, that will look really good on the table. And it does. It really stands out on the table. And, you know, passers-by, especially with those rubber dim sum, passers-by can look at it and go, it looks real. It looks like we've actually had a delivery of dim sum. And we're using it as game pieces for whatever reason. I'm trying not to eat
this certain piece.
Indeed, yeah.
Weren't there 4 pieces in there?
I do feel, though, we nearly made a mistake when we were playing this the other night, because we had sweets on the table. And,
that's true,
they blended in.
They did. We had the Skittles squishies. I was very close to saying, should we just replace the dim sum with the
squishies? That'd be pretty good, actually, yeah.
The caveat is you have to retrieve them with the chopsticks.
Oh, yes. Indeed.
Yeah.
But yes, Components, James, what were your standouts?
I'm going to have to pretty much echo exactly what Ant said. It's the rubber dim sum pieces from the deluxe version. And as he said, they have their own drawbacks, which we will get to again in the gameplay section. Yep. But as a visual element, they're absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And the plastic steamers they're setting in on the rotating table, it just looks great.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, arguably, you could turn around and say, oh, wow, the steamers should actually be made of bamboo. But, I mean, can you imagine how expensive this game would be if they made them out of bamboo? Let's be honest now.
And they'd be 3 times the size of what they're meant to be.
Well, yeah, that too. But I'm gonna agree with everything that you guys have said. I'm also gonna shout out the player meeples that you get, because in this game you've got 12 characters that you can choose?
There's more than that, I think.
Or something like that. Maybe a few more in the deluxe. But every single one of them has their own meeple, and of course the characters are animals. In this game, like, there's a pig, so you've got a pig meeple. You've got, I think I played the grumpy grandpa the other day.
Right,
if I remember correctly, it was a bull.
That's it.
You've got a horse. You've got
a snake.
You've got the angry customer, which is
the rooster.
That's it. That's the one I was thinking of the other name for it, but that's not family friendly, people. A rooster. So there's a rat, which is the gambler.
Yep. There's
the
snake,
seafood lover,
a tiger. I mean, I might be wrong on this, but you were correct. There are 12 because I just looked it up.
I believe it's Signs of the Zodiac.
I was about to say it's the 12 Signs of the Zodiac.
Yeah, there you go.
Considering it tells you on the player boards the years.
There you go. So I really like that. That's another little detail to this game that
I did notice it.
Most people won't notice, but it's there, which means they've taken the time to actually think about that and install it in a game. We all know, obviously, this is based on a Japanese style of food, and they are heavily into the whole Zodiac thing. So it's nice to actually have that included. I think components-wise for everything else, it's pretty good. The board's pretty good. Bar one thing that I want to say is a slight con for me.
The dividers.
How did you know I was going to go for the dividers?
Because I think we'd all echo exactly what you're about to say.
Yeah.
So, for reference, you've got the spinning turntable in the middle, and then there's 2... I don't even know what to say they're called.
They're like punchboard rings.
Punchboard rings which go around the side, and they are...
like an outer ring, isn't it?
Yeah, they're double-sided, and they're for the different player counts. So you've got one that has 2 and 3 player, and one that has 4 and 5. Now, they're serviceable to a degree. I hate the fact that they literally just sit on top of the board. Because there's nothing that holds it in place. They just wiggle around. And the 5-player one especially just doesn't ever line up properly.
Yeah, because that was the first time I'd played it in 5-player anyway. Because normally it was either 3 or 4 I've done it with. So when we played it with the 5-player one, it was, we were all like, hang about. So what is my feast zone? What can I, in theory, grab? Which obviously we'll talk about later.
Exactly. But, that was obviously your first experience of a 5-player. That was actually my third experience of playing 5-player. And every single time, without fail, it caused confusion.
Yeah.
And in one game actually caused quite a heated debate because someone wanted to purchase a steamer from their, air quotes, feast zone, but other people were arguing it wasn't in their feast zone.
Yeah.
And it really was, like, the way it was lined up is the majority of the steamer, I would have said, was actually out of his feast zone. But when you actually work it out, it was indeed wholly in his feast zone.
Yeah.
So he was in the right, but it caused confusion. And yeah, for me, that was an instant downvote. And I mean, I personally, we'll get onto it with gameplay and final thoughts later, but I personally think this game should have topped out of 4 players anyway.
It would have been nicer to have like the double baseboard and fit it in to that. Yeah. That would have been quite good.
Yeah, especially as the game board is actually raised up anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
In order to house the moving unit for the Lazy Susan. They could have easily just had a cutout so that it could have slotted in, or magnets, something along those lines, just so it clips in place and doesn't move. There's a few things they could have done. Might have added to the cost a tiny little bit, but you know what? For the quality of it, it would have been a worthy sacrifice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's my one negative. Has anyone else got anything else they want to say about components?
My negative was sort of brought up the last time we played,
Okay.
But I don't know if we're going to go to it now or later.
Is it a component-related issue?
Kinda, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we use that as the segue onto the gameplay.
So obviously, when I've played this a few times now, and the last time we played it was with Simon from Board Stupid, where he pointed out about the component, which is the tracker for your dim sum dishes.
Yes.
And he kind of like put a point which I'd never really thought of, and he was like, "Well, what's the point of this?
Yeah.
Because when there's no dim sum, what can you technically do? Why do we need a counter marker for it?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I was like, "Do you know what? I never even thought of it like that."
Yeah.
And then he was absolutely right. I was just like, "Why is this here?"
Yeah. It's one of the two cons I think I have for this game. Exactly the same thing. It's like it's tracking how many steamers are left. The steamers are 3-dimensional. They're the most eye-drawing piece
They're
of the
literally in
board.
front of you, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the one thing you're not going to lose track of, and when they're gone, the game ends.
Yeah.
I mean, is it like a lazy way of counting, going, well, instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, you can just go, oh, look, there's 5 left.
Yeah.
It's like, it seemed
I mean,
a bit odd.
Yeah.
But I never really thought of it until he mentioned it. And I'm like,
Yeah. I mean, I
mine was
guess
just
you
blown.
could argue that it's easier for anyone on the board, no matter what their position, to instantly see how many steamers are left without having to count.
I mean,
but
so you mentioned it being 14 plus earlier on. So I play with my daughter. She's not even 10 yet.
yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe something like that for younger ages, it might be easier to go, okay, Daddy, I've got 5 steamers left on there or something.
Yeah.
So that might be a good way of it. But apart from that, I just don't see the point of it.
To me, it's completely redundant.
Yeah.
You could get rid of it and it wouldn't.
It wouldn't, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's redundant, personally. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
Obviously, that is moving us on to gameplay a little bit. Where
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
oh no, it's good because it's always nice to have a nice little segue like that, because it does segue us very nicely. Because obviously, one of the things in this game is the countdown trackers and what's going to end the game. Now, obviously, there's 2 ways of ending the game, and that is all the steamers are purchased and the fate deck running out. Now, that basically is after turn 2, at the start of turn 2, you start revealing a fate card after every round.
Yeah. Stipulation for the round, isn't it?
And it's both a positive and negative thing. I think they do various effects. You just reveal a card, do what it says on the card, crack on with the next round.
The fire rages.
The fire rages. Wrong game. But yeah, how do you think that mechanic works within the game? Is it
the fake cards you're talking about?
Cards,
yeah, I mean, like you said, it's it goes either way. I mean, sometimes it can benefit all players. Sometimes it can benefit a player. Like sometimes it'll come up saying who's got the fewest HP, then you get to do this, or who's got the highest HP, you and another person can do such and such.
Yeah.
So again, it's well balanced, and it's a nice little. Like I said, I've mentioned a stipulation for the round, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it's too bad.
I mean, the first thing I would say is I keep getting confused between the fate card deck
and the fortune deck.
I keep referring to vice versa.
Have you ever finished the game with the fate deck running out though?
I haven't.
No.
I was literally about to bring this up. As a second way to end the game, we played with 5 people.
Yeah, which is 18 steamers.
You basically have to have a really unlucky token draw, or everyone is gunning for the same steamer and isn't taking anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to draw the game out, because it's like you're going to run out of steamers way before that deck runs out.
Agreed.
Yeah, and because obviously James mentioned there's 28 of these cards in the box, but you only put 18 out for the game.
Correct.
So again, it's essentially meant to be like if one person buys 1 steamer per round, which is never always the case.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever played a game where the fate deck has gone before the steamers are gone.
No.
So
no, I've not personally seen it yet.
No.
Like James said, I think you'd have to be moving at a snail's pace with regards to buying steamers.
Or being way too overly tactical and about which one you're taking, and every player would have to be doing that rather than one person just going, well, I'm going to take that.
Yeah. So the core principle of the game is you're gaining food tokens, which are they are punchboard tokens representative of the dim sum that will be in the steamers. Once you've got enough to buy a steamer in its entirety, it needs to be into your feast zone And then you, as an action, you go, I am purchasing that steamer. You take the steamer off.
With the exact same food tokens.
With the food tokens, they return to the supplier. You take the dim sum, and they go on your personal board. And your personal board is laid out as I guess it's like a grid.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the different things. And then for each dim sum that you put down, it will tell you how many points you're going to score for placing that dim sum.
Yeah.
And every player board is like that, but every player board also has specific goals, I guess.
Yeah, and different scores as well.
And different scores, yeah. So, I had a character the other day where you only ever scored 1 point per dim sum.
Yeah.
However, his special ability allowed me to buy dim sum or buy steamers from outside of my feast zone at the cost of an extra food. And if I did do that, I was scoring 2 per dim sum.
It's a deadly character, that grandpa.
He's a deadly character, but I'll tell you what, he was really hard to play.
Was it?
Very, very difficult to play.
He was, but was it me or it was Kira you did it to, wasn't it? You sniped one outside of your feast zone that she thought was hers, and you just went yoink.
Yeah, right towards the end of the game where she'd managed to build up all those feast tokens. I was like, I'll have those, thank you. And it was perfectly timed because obviously another thing I guess we could talk about is at the end of the game, you lose points for every 2 food tokens that you have unspent.
100%.
Yep.
And that was a 4 dim sum basket. So it was just sort of like, well, that's guaranteed to be 2 points. 2 points lost. And I was really living up to my moniker of the Kingmaker there, though, because I had no chance of winning.
Absolutely,
and Kiri did. So it was like, I'm just going to take that one. Thank you very much.
Yoink.
You've just lost. It's now between these guys. Any other sort of particular highlights of gameplay for you?
I do like it when it gets towards the end, like you literally mentioned about the food tokens.
Is the game that bad? You look forward to the end?
No. So it's like when you get to like the last 2 or 3 steamers, and like you said, you're trying to plan your food tokens out, because if you don't get rid of them, you're going to lose points at the end of the game. Of course, yeah. So it's a case of like, well, how am I going to do this? And I think the game gets a little bit more intense when you get there, because you're like, oh crap, if I keep these, I'm minus 5 points at the end. Yeah. How do I either get a fortune card to pass them to someone else, or do I try and purchase that steamer before the other person does to simply just get rid of them? Yeah. I think it gets, when literally the last 3 steamers, I think it gets a bit quite, right, what do I do with this now? Yeah, especially like with the more players as well, because you know that I've just claimed 2 tokens because I now know that I can buy that on my next turn. However, it's got to go around on a full 5-player game, it's got to go around 4 people and survive a fate card before I get the chance to buy it again. And if someone else has claimed the first player marker, it changes the turn order. Exactly, so it might actually have to go nearly 9 people before it gets back to you. See, I've got a couple of mechanics. First off, I'm always going to be a fan of a game that allows you to steal the first player marker, because that's just shenanigans. I think that one of the first games we played, every single one of us played a steal the first player marker. It wasn't who could collect the most steamers. It was who's going to end the game with the first player marker, because all of those fake cards came out. Oh yeah. And I think my second highlight is the fake cards. Yeah, because that's the 2 actions we haven't really spoken about. Fortune cards, sorry. To draw a fortune card and to play a fortune card, and they are cards of varying strength. Some are really good. Yeah. Some are but every time you draw or play one, you get to rotate the board. Yeah, it's not mandatory, but you can rotate the board. So you can either bring a steamer you've been eyeing up into your feast zone. Yeah. Or if you're particularly good at watching what other people have got, it's like, oh, you're going for that one. Nope. Yep. Which again leads me on to one of my points, which is this game is very, very much based with hate drafting in mind. And it's kind of unavoidable for a lot of the time. Now, that's both a positive and a con, because I quite like games that are like that, with a little bit of take that element to it. But a lot of people don't. Yeah. So, I'll jump in and sort of go, this game is so luck-based that, again, if you're not into luck, it's probably not the game for you, because there's a lot of it in this game. Now, we could talk about strategy and,
every character's got their own thing that they were going to try and do, and that. But I feel the game is devoid of strategy. Even when you try and employ it, there is so much luck it overpowers that strategy, and at no point do I ever feel like I am in control of what I'm going to be doing. I can plan something strategically, and even if the other players don't do anything to stop me, the game might, or a roll might go wrong, or I don't know, a fake card will come out and say, right, now you need to lose this food, or that food has to go back, or you have to gain this food that I don't actually want. And there's just so much luck. That was something that I was just sitting there going, do you know what? I don't like the sheer amount of luck that is involved in the game. However, I wouldn't say it was enough to put me off the game. I do enjoy it, which is weird.
So would you say it's well balanced on that for you to hate it but like it still? Or
I want to say that it is indeed well balanced, but make no bones about it, this is a luck-based game. It is not a strategy game, in my mind. What about you guys?
Yeah.
I would agree with that. It's like, you can make a plan. The game will probably, if the other players don't immediately stamp on it, the game probably will.
Yeah. And like I said, the hate drafting or variation of hate drafting is built into this game mechanic. And as I said, sometimes you can't avoid it. Sometimes, because you've got to do two different actions.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I've claimed a token, which, again, I'll just jump in on that and go, I think that's a mandatory thing every single turn. I feel like I'm, for the most part, forced into taking a token every turn and using an action for that.
I would disagree with that.
But it's that being forced to do a second action that's different. It's like, I don't really want to play this card. I could draw a card, but really it feels like a bit of a wasted action at this point because I'm not really using my fake cards.
They are,
but then I could take it and it's worth points at the end. I could take it and then use cash in 2 of them to get another food. But I just feel like the only action that's in that list that I'm like, I feel like I need to do it is the food token. But you don't agree with that, James?
No, because you've got the other option of drawing cards, and as you highlighted, they are useful for a number of things. You can trade them in for their card effect. You can trade 2 of them in to claim a food token, which can be that I would say that could be considered a strategic part of it. It's sort of like, especially to throw people off, maybe what you're going for.
I guess there is that.
And they are worth points at the end of the game. So I don't necessarily feel like I feel like I'm being forced to take a food token as one of my actions.
When I say forced, I before Ant weighs in on this, when I say forced, I mean in the sense of if I'm not taking food tokens, I'm falling behind on claiming steamers. And if you're not claiming steamers, you're not gaining points.
Yep.
And there's very few points to be gained in this game. So not gaining points when other people are gaining points, as proven by our game the other evening, was really detrimental to me.
I think that I do agree with one of your other statements, whereas this game almost encourages hate drafting. If you're not claiming the food tokens and you are going for the cards, which I would say is the more strategic of the two options as much as the game will let you, you are effectively managing everyone else's points by having to keep an eye on what they're going for because you can move the table every time you either draw or pick one up. So it's like, well, I'm building towards this, you're about to get that, so nope.
I mean, like I said, there is definitely a strategic element to it. But Ant, where do you stand on this? Because obviously me and James differ on this one.
Well, no, you both bring out really good points. It's a fair place, both arguments are, worthy of each other at the end of the day. But it's kind of hard because you have James mentioned, you have a plan sometimes, but then when someone rotates that table, you're kind of like, well, my strategy's out, so I might go for something else.
Yeah.
But it's a game about taking food tokens to swap for food. So I would want to take a food token, Jason.
Yeah.
No, later. But no, I would go with James's strategy towards the end of the game, picking the fortune cards, because again, the more of those I take towards the end, it will gain me more points.
Yeah.
So it's the best of both worlds on both your arguments,
and
really.
There is definitely an element of balance about it as well, because like James says, you're going to want to go for as many cards as you possibly can at the end.
Would it
but
depend
you
on
still
player
have to
count,
do those
though?
2 actions.
Would it depend on player count, the way you plan your game of it? Because I'll be honest, I had a much harder time trying to plan something with 5 players.
Yeah, it was definitely harder at 5.
With 3, I felt it was more of a chance to do.
Yeah.
I think that's because the steamers aren't coming off quite as thick and fast. The more you drop the player count, I mean, at 5, it's like pretty much after the first round, a steamer is going to disappear.
Especially if they turn it twice over on 2 turns before you, because then you've got to try and get your 2 turns to get that back, and then you do 2 turns are up. So I felt it to be a bit more difficult with 5 players on the aspect of what you were saying about, do I need to take a food token? Do I need to take a fortune card? Well, I don't know yet for another 4 turns. Or possibly, like you said, another 9, depending on what the first player goes to.
Yeah,
So,
on those grounds, I would say not a con, but it could be a con to a lot of people, especially if you want a strategic game. If you plan strategically, you could, as Ant said, you could end up spending your 2 actions to get the steamer back to you, and in a higher player game, or even a lower player game, if it's moved twice, you've got to use 2 actions to get it back.
Yeah.
And then you're out of actions, you can't claim it. So that's where, again, we've circled back around to the whole luck element.
And I'd say that's where you need to balance your strategy, quote unquote, into fortune cards, because some of those cards, like the combination I played when we played the other night, go searching through the discard pile. Always
that's a filthy card. Yeah.
Always a powerful mechanic for a card that I knew was in there, which was you can claim a steamer as long as you have the required number of tokens.
It doesn't have to be identical, does it?
It doesn't have to actually match what is in. So it's like, I've got 4 tokens. I can pretty much claim any 4 dim sum steamer that rocks into my zone, because I don't have to match the tokens to the dim sum.
I'll be honest, I was waiting for the card where Jason gives me more food tokens to come out at some point.
Yeah.
And it didn't come out. I was like, he must have not got that card at some point.
I had it at the end.
Did you have it at the end?
Yeah.
I was waiting for him to give me even more at the end.
That was going to be my next action if the game hadn't
If they
ended.
gave their end, there you go.
That was in my hand.
I know the Kingmakers way. But no, just some really interesting points there. I mean, Jason, when you brought it up, I never even thought of it like that. And then James has countered it as well and has said, well, you're both right at the end of the day. There is no in and out to it.
I would like to bring up a mechanic as well. On the subject of luck-based, there are lots of those fortune and fate cards that require you to dip into the bag.
Yes.
And the lucky dice rolling as well.
Yeah, it's actually going to be my very last point before we transition to final thoughts. So perfect timing.
Yeah. And this is where my other big con, if you're using the deluxe components, comes in.
Yes.
Because they look lovely on the board. Don't get me wrong. But when you have a mechanic that is basically, they're in a bag and it says, reach into the bag and randomly draw one and put it on your board. They're all unique shapes. So second you put your hand in that bag,
you can feel what's what.
You know exactly which one's which.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially like, as an example, when I was playing the Angry Customer, I think it's the chicken feet.
Yeah, you get more points.
I get more points for the chicken feet, and out of all of them, the chicken feet are the most uniquely shaped.
Yes,
of course,
playing piece.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so it's like I feel like I'm gaming the system, but I know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Didn't one of you come up with the idea of like reaching in with chopsticks?
So I think
because that's quite a unique idea.
It might have been Simon that come up with that. There's been a few things I've changed in the other games that I've played with other people.
The only fault I can see with that is to maneuver the chopsticks into the bag. You'd have to hold it low enough that you'd be able to see into it.
Yeah.
So there is definitely that. The other option that we've been playing with is obviously this would be what you would do, I'd imagine, with the retail version. You use the standard punchboard tokens to go in the bag and use the actual rubber ones for your boards and the actual dim sum steamers. However, I know James said about this being an issue with the deluxe version. I actually feel that this is a issue with the retail version as well, because the tokens that you put in the bag are shaped.
Yeah.
Whereas the food tokens that you claim to buy steamers are round.
Yeah.
it should be the other way
The
round.
other way round.
I mean,
Absolutely, yeah.
The round ones should be in the back because then they're not distinct.
Yeah.
Totally should be, but easily solvable with the retail, which is you just switch the tokens around.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we have been doing with the other game group that I've been playing with. Because it was the first thing, because they had the deluxe version. It was the first time they were playing it. I was teaching them, and they done the setup because it was their game. They wanted to do the setup. And the only interjection I had was, don't put the 3D pieces in the bag, put the food tokens in there.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, they were sort of didn't really understand. I was like, look, there are fortune cards that allow you to randomly draw. There are characters that allow you to randomly draw. You can feel them. And they instantly, before I'd even said you can feel them, they said, oh, we'll be able to feel them. Yeah, exactly. So put the round ones in there, because then it's totally...
it was one of the first things we spotted on our first play of it as well. Is like, I swear one of you two are reaching in and going, oh, hang about, this is kind of irrelevant.
I think it was me.
Yeah, because I can feel what it is. So
I wanted a chicken foot, and there we go.
There we go.
It is.
Got it. Ha.
You know, and that's not with me trying to cheat. It's just, no, I can genuinely feel.
Well, yeah, the second, imagine your first time doing it. The second you put your hand in the bag and you shake it to loosen them up a little bit, it's like, right, that's chicken foot, that's a shrimp.
Yeah.
I can literally... I'm not even reaching to feel them. I just shook the bag.
I know some people have just sort of
you're
said...
not looking in either. You literally can. Yeah.
A lot of people have just sort of said, oh, we'll just put your hand and pick the first one out that you touch. It's like, yeah, but you can still feel multiple at the same time with your fingers. And it's really not difficult to maneuver your fingers to pull the one you want out. I like to think our game group is not that dishonest, but... it is a concern, and I think that is a glaring fault.
Yeah,
and it does.
100%. Yeah,
it does. It does make you feel guilty going back around. Like to me, the other night when I was up to the 3 scoring on my chicken foot, and it's like I've picked the chicken foot, and now I feel really bad.
Yeah,
because it's the one that's going to score me 3 points.
Yeah, exactly. So that I think is a very very good.
Even if you've done it correctly, your hand's not even out the bag, and it's like, yeah, I got the one I want, and I feel bad for it.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else about gameplay you want to talk about before we go to final thoughts?
No, we think we brought it all up.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, Anthony, it's your game. Final thoughts on this game?
Final thoughts, I really enjoy it. I think it's a great game to play with mates and get people around the table with it. Like you said, it's quite an attractive game for people that just walk past the table and have a look. I wouldn't be like, oh, you've got to play this game. It's amazing. It's, it's definitely a game you should try, but I'm not like, oh, you've got to do it straight away or anything like that. Again, easy to teach, easy to play, easy to screw people over as well.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. If you ask me for a rating out of 10, I'd give it a solid 7. Yeah, so,
well, we don't do ratings.
I know. I don't do ratings anymore. But if you ask, that's what I would give it. Above average, definitely. Okay. It's again not amazing, not great either. Just nice, just balanced in. It's there.
Is it what you expected when you backed it?
Yeah, I mean,
happy with the purchase.
I'm happy with the purchase. It wasn't much on Kickstarter at the end of the day. I think it was like 55 with another tenner of postage on top, so it wasn't too bad. I mean, on eBay it goes for over £100 now. Yeah, so it's if the deluxe version does anyway.
Indeed, yeah.
But again, I'm happy with the purchase. I'm not. We still play it now. We played it randomly the other night. It probably won't come to the table anytime soon after this, but it's always there if people want to play it. Nice. My kids like it as well. So
good. James, final thoughts.
I really enjoyed the game. I've enjoyed every game we've played of it. I don't think the negatives we've highlighted are enough to change my opinion of it. At the end of the day, a redundant round tracker and bits you can feel but are easily solved.
Yeah.
I don't think that's, it's just one of those things, like, especially the 3D pieces, you just kind of want to side-eye the designers and go, come on, you would have worked that out.
Yeah.
But it's easily fixable by the person setting it up, like we said, just to put the tokens in instead.
Yeah.
I still think it's a really good game. I've had fun every single time we played it. So, solid thumbs up from me.
Good. Final thoughts from me. This, again, I'm having so many tough ones to choose recently. It was a tough one for me because, as I said earlier, I backed this originally. Then I cancelled my pledge before the end of the campaign, and I did regret it after the end of the campaign. When the late pledge came up, I was considering it, and again, I decided against it through monetary issues at the time. And then when it finally turned up, we got it to the table, and I instantly went back to, I regret not backing this game.
Right.
And right now, I still sit at the, I regret not backing this game. Mainly because this game it's listed as light to medium weight. Now, I think it's far more on the lighter end of this. I would put this in the same category as Wingspan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my confusion or thought process comes, because I don't own Wingspan. So if I was presented with a choice, would you buy a Wingspan or would you buy a Steam Up? The honest answer is, I think I'm going for this game.
Okay.
Because I think the components are absolutely solid. The gameplay is fun. But then I think again, and I'm like, I prefer the strategy and the more strategic elements of Wingspan.
Wingspan, yeah.
Because that's the comparison I've got now, is this is, all right, to coin a phrase that the board game industry loves, is this the Wingspan killer? I don't know if it's the Wingspan killer, but
we'll get that far.
You know what I mean? It's one of those, is it the one that's going to steal a sale from Wingspan with me? I said to you the other day, this is one of the games I was considering for purchase at UK Games Expo, if there are some of the deluxe versions there.
Yeah.
I have zero interest in the retail version.
Yeah.
100%. I'm now dead set on that. The game is not good enough to warrant me buying that game. It's all about those rubber pieces for me.
Yeah.
The plastic things, they're really cool, but I would feel like I was missing out if I didn't have those rubber pieces. That being said, the super inflated prices to get this pre-owned, you know, the scalper prices or whatever, it's not worth it.
No.
100% the game isn't worth it at that price. You know, I think the cheapest I saw it for today was £85. It's like, no. And that wasn't including all the bits. Because, you know, when you back this on Kickstarter, you got the squishy...
That's right, the little dim sum.
Squishy dim sum as the player marker. You got, you know, obviously your postage and stuff was included in it.
There's a little mini expansion with extra fortune cards as well.
Exactly, yeah. I think there was one that didn't even have that in it. So it was just sort of like, well, you're not giving me everything that you backed.
Yeah. Why should I be
and you
paying
backed
that amount
it
of money
cheaper
for it?
than that? That's just way too much. So, they are my final thoughts, which leads on to my recommendations. I recommend you play the game. 100% really fun game. Do I recommend you buy the game? If you're not bothered about the deluxified components when it eventually comes out, it's up to you to make a judgment call whether it's worth it, because it's just going to be punchboard. I wouldn't bother with the retail. If you can get the deluxified version at a reasonable cost, and I would top out at £65 is my reasonable cost for this.
That's how much the Kickstarter was, yeah.
All right, maybe a little bit more than the Kickstarter to factor in the postage. So £70 is where I'd go as an absolute push for everything that came with the original deluxified version. That I would recommend. A penny over that, no, it's not worth it. What about you, Amp?
On what, sorry?
Recommendations? Is it a collection keeper for you?
Oh, definitely for me, yeah. But for other people, again, it depends on what you just mentioned, Jason, about the Wingspan thing. If it's the mood you're in for, are you in the mood for strategy? Are you in the mood for luck or whatnot? Or are you in the mood just for a little bit of fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but only, again, for me, only if it was the deluxe version, not the retail.
Okay.
So, yeah.
James, any final recommendations?
Just pretty much. I think the two of you have said that.
Yeah.
Said everything that was on my mind. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'd expand on is just a general thing, which is obviously, don't pay the scalper's price.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say that for every game.
I'm still in that mindset in general on that topic of it doesn't matter how good the game is. I know an inflated price when I see one and I'm not paying it.
Yeah.
Even if I am absolutely desperate for that game, it's like, it's not worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there we go. That is Steam Up, a feast of dim sum. Have you guys out there played it? Let us know your thoughts on any of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or even our Discord server, which the links to all of those are in the podcast description. Guys, that's the end of the episode.
Hey!
It's 2 weeks in a row that we've had you here, Mr. Anthony.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Have you had good fun?
Yeah. Absolutely, sir. Love to come back anytime.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have you back at some point. You know, we're, as proven last week, we've started doing our top 5 episodes now, which I've been looking forward to for a little while. And we're going to start doing them more often. Maybe get you back for a couple of those. I know you're desperate to get onto a topical discussion.
Please. I would love to be on a topical.
This
Is it because we keep making you shout at the radio?
This is it, yeah. But I'll be honest, I do love those topical episodes. They are get me through the weekend for my DJing gigs. But yeah, I do like them. I do enjoy them.
Good. Well, we will endeavour to get you along for one or two of those when we actually formulate a plan rather than doing it last minute.
Jason, I have to say I am all in favour of getting a third person to argue with.
Yeah, that's always good.
I look forward to the top fives as well. That'd be an interesting thing as well to listen to as well. So
excellent. That's really good. Just before we go out, would you like to plug your other show that's not so much about board games as we are?
Yeah, so if you want to listen to any more board game stuff that's not as good as this, obviously, then look us up on MTVB Podcast anywhere on Instagram, Facebook, obviously Spotify, iTunes. Anywhere you can find a podcast, just look up those initials. We'll be there. Every listen, we appreciate your support. Please give us a go and enjoy, guys, obviously.
We threw you off your radio voice.
You did. I was like, hey. I was like, no, damn it.
But yes, thank you again for coming on. It's
thank
always
you for
a
having me,
pleasure.
guys.
Always good to see you, Ant.
Thank you, mate.
Definitely give that show a listen as well, because it gets me through the days as well of
The
sitting
whole
in the
3-hour
van and
episode.
Well, when you're stuck in traffic in London, mate, trust me, 3 hours is brilliant.
Oh, there we go. Traffic podcast.
Exactly. So that you can say
I'm going to wait for you to drop something in just for Jason now. It's like
This is a traffic podcast.
And now, a traffic report.
And now, over to Jason. How's the traffic, Jason?
Everybody looks like ants.
But there you go. Thank you very much for listening, guys. It has been another very, very fun week talking about Steam Up. I think it's worth the play. But, go out and make your own decisions.
And enjoy your Chinese food, guys.
Exactly. It's Japanese.
Japanese.
Anyway, it does make me hungry.
Yeah.
It's made me hungry. I'm hungry now. So on that note, we are going to go away and I'm going to have some food. So till next week, I have been Jason.
I've been James.
I've been Ant.
And you have been listening to the Meeple Minded podcast. Join us next week for more tabletop gaming goodness. Ta-ta and goodbye.